Greetings. This is Group 6. I am Brawley Pena Peralta, and my partner is Hyacinth Figget McKay. This is our presentation on Philip Schuyler, An American Legacy and Controversial Statue.
As we engage in the discourse around the historical monuments, we recognize that embracing our history enriches our present and empowers future generations to learn, grow, and strive for a more inclusive and enlightened society. Still, it's critical to scrutinize the narratives we choose to uphold. While Philip Schuyler played a vital role in the American Revolution, it's imperative to acknowledge the complexities of his legacy.
Schuyler stood as a beacon of leadership during a critical juncture in our history. Yet, like many historical figures, Schuyler was not without flaws. Criticism exists regarding his views and actions, raising questions about the appropriateness of immortalizing him in our public spaces. By removing his statue, we commit to reevaluating who we honor and the values we want our community to reflect.
Moreover, statues are not frozen in time. They are dynamic symbols that can influence public perception. Returning a monument to a figure whose views may be outdated or offensive can inadvertently perpetuate historical bias. In embracing change, we communicate our commitment to inclusivity and a more comprehensive understanding of our shared history.
Philip John Schuyler was an essential figure in the American Revolution. He served as a major general in the Continental Army and was a first United States Senate member. Born in Albany, New York in 1733, Schuyler was born into a distinguished Dutch-American family. Philip John Schuyler's grandfather, Peter Schuyler, was the first mayor of Albany. In his early years, Schuyler attended public school in Albany, and after the death of his father when he was 8 years old, Schuyler was taken out of the public school system and educated via private tutors, where religious teachings by reverends of the French Protestant Church were part of his education.
As an adult, Philip Schuyler married Kathleen Van Rensselaer, whose family was also a part of the privileged class, and together they had 11 children. Only 8 survived to become adults. They lived in an impressive mansion overlooking the Hudson River that was run and maintained by enslaved people.
Schuyler's military career began during the French and Indian War, where he gained valuable experience. However, he truly made his mark during the American War for Independence. He commanded the New York Department of the Continental Army and was crucial in various campaigns, including the invasion of Canada, the battles of Lake Champlain, and Fort Ticonderoga. Schuyler contributed to the formation of the United States, and his name holds a significant place in American history.
For his accomplishments, a 7-foot tall statue was a gift from Bear Baron George C. Hawley. The statue was placed outside Albany's City Hall, where it stood for nearly a century. Attention was brought to this statue of Philip Schuyler because of the play Hamilton.
It's essential to acknowledge that Schuyler's legacy is tarnished by his involvement in the institution of labor. Schuyler and his family, like many other New Yorkers of that day or of his day, enslaved African men, women, and their children. The Schuyler family were some of the largest slaveholders in Albany. These slaves formed the basis of his and his family's wealth. As he proceeded into his industrial business, he used slaves in his sawmills and linen mills.
Mayor Kathy Sheen proposed the removal of the statue in 2020. Eventually, the statue was removed on June 25th, 2023, and then stored.
The Schuyler family was one of the most prominent slave traders during the 1700s. Most of their estate was built on the gains that they received from slavery. And as we can see here, we have a slave ledger on table two, which shows the names that are known through 1805 of the male slaves that they owned, as well as the female slaves. Um, we also have a summary on table one, where it shows us throughout the years, pretty much where they were landing at and how many slaves they were bringing, from these different islands, um, and countries as well into New York City and New Jersey. We also see that the Schuyler family, they own slaves, who work in their mansion as well. There's a picture of their mansion depicted in this slide, as you can see.
Philip Schuyler and his family, like many New Yorkers in the colonial and early Republic years, relied upon enslavement of men, women, and children of African descent as a basis of their wealth. From the earliest presence of Schuylers in Saratoga, enslaved people were present. Saratoga NAP currently has a major study ongoing to learn more about slavery and the enslaved at the Schuyler estate.
Racial incidents across the country, which include the murder of George Floyd and the March on Charlottesville, have made the country more aware of what statues memorializing historical figures like Philip Schuyler truly represent. These events have also caused activists like the Black Lives Matter movement, who organized marches across the country during these incidents, prompting the removal of many of these statues.
The removal of the statue was not without controversy. Many people thought the removal of the statue was erasing their local history. The removal of statues has become extremely controversial in recent years. There are opinions on both sides about whether they should be removed because of what they represent and unpleasant past or stay because they represent our history. The removal of Philip J. Schuyler's statue in Albany is part of a broader movement to grapple with the actions of historical figures and confront the racist legacies that presents today.
Statues represent the beliefs and opinions of the people who erected them. They do not tell a complete story. Therefore, statues that prove to be an unpleasant reminder or a celebration of a time in history that causes pain to any citizen should not be destroyed but removed from public places.
Our sentiment for history guides our opinion that statues, depending on the context of who is being memorialized, should remain intact with the added context of their true and dark side contributions. Whether good or bad, these historical figures shape the path we are headed in exclusively. And as I usually say, you cannot know where you are headed if you do not know where you have been. But let me play the devil's advocate here for a moment and state that some statues have earned their defilement and should be preserved in such a state as a context reminder that that the masses do remember the negative contributions of these historical figures.
Let us then consider reevaluating our public memorials. recognizing that our evolving society demands critically examining the figures we honor. Keeping in mind that victors have always written history and that no victor wants to expose their dark truths, we as a society must remain forever vigilant of the figures we choose to idolize.
This has been a Group 6 presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.